Yo, 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 what's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Pantherology. And today I got a buddy of mine on, Fratagonia. He's going to give us an unbiased opinion on the Carolina Panthers this year for the season of 2020. So without further ado, I pass the mic on to Ryan.
Yo, what's popping, Clay? How's it going, man?
It's going, man. It's getting this Wednesday going.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. We've been talking about it. I was just on your show recently, and got to talk about some Cowboys. So I wanted to get you on and talk about some Panthers football for the up-and-coming 2020 season.
Yeah, sure. So if your followers don't know me, I'm at Fratagonia on YouTube, Real Fratagonia on Twitter, and at Fratagonia on Instagram. And I cover the Dallas Cowboys, the San Antonio Spurs, Texas Rangers, basically a few Texas sports here and there. I'm also into sports gaming, so sometimes I'll put some sports gaming content on YouTube as well. But yeah, thanks for having me on.
So basically, Pantherologist, he's a Texas guy.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's get right into it. So we were talking, and I came up with some questions for you, and I kind of want to ask you really on how you feel about the Panthers kind of going away from Cam Newton.
Okay, sure. So Cam, man, and I got a couple notes here, but he was an 8-year starter, right, from 2011 to 2019. But those last 2 years, he kind of became a little bit injury prone. Now, compared to who you brought in, I think he's definitely a better runner when he's healthy than Teddy Bridgewater is. But I don't know if Cam's ever going to be healthy again. What is he, 30, 31?
He just turned – I think he's 30. I think he'll be 31 next year.
Okay, so he just turned 30.
He turned 30 this year.
Yeah, so I consider 30, especially if you're an athletic, run first type of quarterback. That's when you start aging, man. So especially with a couple big injuries, I like the signing for New England, but I also like that Carolina might be moving on at the right time.
Well, I mean, I got another question for you. Do you think that us signing Teddy Bridgewater, how do you feel about Teddy? Do you think that it was the right signing? Should we have kind of just looked into free agency? What do you think?
Well, I think the name says it all, man, Bridgewater. And I think he's this bridge or gap between them and the next franchise quarterback. I think he could be, a 3 to 5 year starter for y'all, or he might be there a year or two. But either way, he's solid, and he knows how to play. He's proven in the league. And, man, he was really good last year when he did play in New Orleans, 5-0, I believe.
Do you think Teddy Bridgewater could be one of those guys that, comes in and, I feel like right now with the fact that we signed Teddy Bridgewater, we're actually not really looking for the future. We're kind of thinking about going ahead and winning now. Do you think Teddy can be that guy for us to win and, maybe not even just coming into 2020, but the next couple of years, can we be consistent?
Yeah, and you know why, Clay? I think the reason is because you have the right guys around him. You brought in some really good offensive coaching, and Matt Rhule and the coordinator, I'm at to look at the name, Joe Brady, but brought him in from LSU. And I think he's going to be a really creative, impressive offensive coordinator. And you have the weapons, man. You have Christian McCaffrey. You have the receiver depth. DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson brought in. That's a big pickup.
All right.
So I absolutely think so, yeah.
All right. So if I had to ask you, and, I feel like, you were bringing up Matt Rhule and the new coaching staff and Joe Brady. What do you know and how do you feel about Matt Rhule?
Okay, let me pull up my stats on Matt Rhule. But first off, Clay, I just want to tell you he's a star. Here's the two big stats I want to look at here. Temple, when he took over the first season, Clay, they went 2-10.
Yep.
2 years later, they went 10-4. And I think the season after, they went 10-3, 10-4. Then he went to Baylor. First year at Baylor, went 1-11. 2 years later, he went 11-3. So you can tell he's got, once he gets his system implemented, and it might take a couple of years. We don't know how that's going to translate to the pro level like it did in college, obviously. But the guy's a winner, man. And I think he's a future coaching star for sure.
It's funny that you say that because I did a video about Matt Rhule and stuff like that. And, it's just that he's one of those guys that can come in. We might start out crappy, but then the next year he could throw us, like right now, US Today predicts us going 2-14 this year. I mean, and then after that, but I mean, let's say we do go 2-14 this year. Who knows what's going to happen next year? We might go 14-2, especially if he's done that at these other places. Because he's just one of those coaches that can develop players. When he puts that system into play, it obviously works, because then the next year or two, you're winning 10, 11 game season. Another thing is, I wanted to point out to you, I watched an interview, and I can't remember who was interviewing him. It might have been Big Cat off of YouTube. He was interviewing a guy, a former Carolina Panther, and I can't remember who it was, but he asked them, how does he feel about Matt Rhule, and after meeting him, and what does he know? And he said that apparently they compare Matt Rhule to almost like a Bill Parcells kind of coach.
Okay, does he have that kind of personality is one thing I want to ask. But first, Clay, I want to tell you real quick, 2-14 is brutal, man, as far as guesstimating the schedule goes. Brian Flores in Miami last year, and that team was horrible. They lacked some talent that Carolina does have this year. They won how many games last year? At least 4, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that's a little –
actually, I think they won 6.
Yeah, I was thinking 6 too. So
yeah,
so I think 2 wins is kind of a low expectation. I'd expect them.
We'll get back to that. So I kind of want to hear, because basically, we talked about the strengths and weaknesses of the Cowboys. I'd like to hear what you feel as the strengths going in for, or the strength that doesn't matter, going in for the Carolina Panthers in the 2020 season.
Okay, so obviously when you have a guy like Christian McCaffrey, he automatically becomes a strength of the team. He's that good. He may be the best running back in the NFL. He just got the big offseason deal, and I would definitely put running back as the strength of the team. Now, I think he had 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving last year. He had 19 all-purpose touchdowns. He had like 15 rushing touchdowns, 4 receiving touchdowns. Dude's just electric, man. Now, as far as his backups go, that's where it gets a little, gray from there. Can Mike Davis stay healthy? What's the other guy? Jordan Scarlett,
yeah. And then we got Reggie
Bonifant, yeah.
Yep.
If they can contribute, if they're the real deal, and if they're solid backups, man, then y'all have a heck of a running back core. And as I said, receiving core probably comes in as a close second, because you have a lot of depth there.
Yeah. I was going to say the wide receivers probably at least second. And I definitely think our running back group is definitely one of the ones. And I think a lot of people, and I kept saying Mike Davis going to be the second guy, but Matt Rhule apparently likes what he's seeing from Mike Davis right now. And if he can, like I did that video about the running back duos, I said, if Mike Davis can come back to his days when he was at Seattle, when he was being, he had over 700 yards rushing, and even I think he had almost close to 300 yards receiving and like a couple touchdowns. If you can put a guy behind like that, and he's also more of a power back than anything, but he can still catch and run with the ball. When you got a guy like that backing up Christian McCaffrey, it's going to take a lot of pressure off of Christian, and that's also going to make Christian even better.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And also I think it's important that Christian McCaffrey isn't ran into the ground, especially now he's got the big deal. You want him to be healthy. And, you see a lot of guys like Todd Gurley, they get the big contract, they get a bunch of carries, and their body can't live up to it. Zeke, on the other hand, is built a little different, and Christian McCaffrey is a big dude as well. So I hope he can stay healthy.
And then another thing is, even if Mike Davis doesn't work out, you got those other guys. But apparently a lot of people are high on Reggie Bonifant, and I was kind of sleeping on him a little bit. But apparently he is looking like to be, if Mike Davis doesn't keep panning out the way he is, I have to do a little training camp update on him. But from what I know of, is a lot of people are saying Reggie Bonifant might be the number 2 guy because he's just as versatile as Christian McCaffrey.
Okay, so I'm not too familiar with Bonifant as a Cowboys fan. Obviously, I know the name. Tell me a little bit about him. What's his game? Is he power back?
Apparently, before this, he wasn't a running back. He was a quarterback. And
okay.
So I guess he had that wherever he played at, which I can't remember where he played at in college, but he had that run style. if I'm not mistaken. Then he transferred into as a running back. And so now he's kind of transitioned his whole game into this running back style, and apparently it's actually working for him. He's super fast, and apparently he's just as versatile as Christian, but Christian's just a whole different level.
Yeah, but it is surprising to see a guy transition from quarterback, to another position and then to running back and then get some success at running back.
Kind of like what's his name? Remember what's his name? The quarterback from Michigan,
Denard Robinson. Yeah, I was thinking about him.
Yep. So I mean, it's just like he's kind of like Denard Robinson.
But even Denard Robinson, as successful as he was at quarterback in college, I don't think he was a backup in the NFL. He definitely was on the roster, but I don't think.
Yeah, wasn't he on the Jags at one point or something?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right, that's what I figured. So to the next question is, we did the strengths. What are the weaknesses that the Carolina Panthers are probably going to endure coming into this 2020 season?
Okay, so to me, the biggest weakness is going to be tight end. Just losing a guy like Greg Olsen, kind of like Dallas losing Jason Witten, and you're kind of replacing him with the guys that were already there. Is it Ian Thomas?
Ian Thomas, yep.
Ian Thomas, he hadn't had a ton of opportunities. I think over 2 years he's got like 500 yards total. So he had 300 yards a couple years ago. He had 150 yards last year, like 3 touchdowns. So statistics are kind of weak. There's not a ton of film on him. So that's kind of a question mark. I do want to point out Tamarick Hemingway on the rosters from Myrtle Beach, and I actually went to high school with him. Right. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, and I saw that, and when I saw the name, I was like, oh, North Myrtle Beach boy.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, I can't believe that he's on the team. And apparently but he's injured right now. Actually, he got an injury. I did a little training injury update. He's got a little head concussion. I think it's just like a day-to-day thing. Doesn't seem serious. But apparently Matt Rhule likes what he sees from him actually right now. But Matt Rhule is kind of high on Ian Thomas, because Ian Thomas, we drafted him, was it 2017, 2018 in the 3rd round out of Indiana. And I mean, and he might end up being, a very, very good tight end, because he has, like I said, there's no video on him.
Right.
So, and if he starts, maybe now this is his opportunity to step up and be that tight end. And I actually did a video on the guys that need the players that I feel like that need to step up this year. And he's one of them, because he's going to have to, when you lose Greg Olsen, and then Ian Thomas really hasn't had a chance to prove himself. Now he has the opportunity to, so he needs to do it.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And, just like the Cowboys, there is going to be a little less pressure on that tight end position, just because you're so good at running back, and you got McCaffrey also can catch passes really well, and wide receiver.
I feel like me and you're in the same ballpark. It's just the fact that we have a whole new coaching staff.
Yeah, we're a little
whole new a whole new coaching staff, we have a new quarterback, but y'all don't. But the tight end positions, one of your weaknesses as well. But your wide receiver core is really good. Our wide receiver core is right there. I wouldn't say it's as close as y'all. I'd say it's still top 10. I put
pretty
y'all
good, yeah.
I probably put y'all top 3.
Yeah.
And then like running backs, I probably put us at number 1. I mean, at least with Christian McCaffrey, I have respect for Zeke. I think Zeke is definitely probably the number 3 back behind Saquon and Christian. I feel like Zeke doesn't get a lot of respect in the league. I
do want to point out that, so on FTFN Network, Fan to Fan, which I write for, but on our first episode, we had Chris Johnson on, former Titans Pro Bowl running back, future Hall of Famer. And he did say he thought Ezekiel Elliott was the best running back in the league. But it was interesting. He thought why was because, 1, he's proven. 2, he's the most consistent. He can, as in he stays healthy every year. And he consistently puts up the numbers every year.
Yeah, he was saying something about Christian where he's like, Christian's not as consistent, but I don't really see what he's saying, because Christian McCaffrey's putting up 100 and something yards a game.
He's also
he's putting up 100 catching or receiving yards a game, and it's like, I don't understand how you could say he's not consistent. I think what he's saying is Zeke is getting 10 to 8 yards all the time, and then Christian will get like 3 yards, but then the next play he'll get like
a 30-yard run.
30-yard run. So I mean, I see what he's saying there, but at the same time, it's still, I would say it's about the same with the consistency.
Yeah, and I actually tend to agree. And like you said, McCaffrey and even Saquon, even more so, are definitely the more explosive. They'll get you the big runs. Zeke, you can rely on for 3, 4, 5 yards every time. The only thing I'll give Dallas credit is Tony Pollard's a really good backup, and I think we'll play some 2 running back sets.
Yeah, and I think that's what Carolina's trying to get to, so that all of it's not on Christian, because they don't want, like you said, we don't want to make him the workhorse to the point where he just breaks down after 7, 8 seasons. We want him there for, you want Zeke there for 10 to 12 seasons. We want Christian there for 10 to 12 seasons.
Sure, man. And Joe Brady might get real creative if Reggie Bonifay was a quarterback back in the day, have some 2 running back sets, have Bonifay throw the ball sometimes in those sets. I'm
pretty sure he was let me look that up, because I want to make sure I'm not BSing here, because now I'm starting to second guess myself that he played.
Yeah, and I'll check on my phone as well.
It's kind of funny because I thought it said that he played quarterback, but maybe I'm thinking they said he played cornerback. Okay, here we go.
Oh no, so he did play quarterback.
Okay,
he freshman
did.
and sophomore at Louisville.
Yeah, Louisville. That's right. I forgot about that. It was at Louisville. So he what?
Okay, so I'm a little confused here. So he was after Bridgewater.
Yeah.
But before Lamar Jackson, he's 24.
So I mean, he was before Lamar, and then when Lamar came in, that's when he switched over to running back. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Because they probably
isn't this when Louisville was like.
That's when Louisville was
for a couple of years
losing a lot.
Yeah, they were really bad after Bridgewater left it until Lamar Jackson came.
And they had, what's his name, Petrino?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that team was so fun with Lamar Jackson.
Yes, it was. So, all right. Sorry, we got a little off topic there, guys.
I know.
Let's get back on topic here. The next question I have for you is I want to ask you, and I don't know if you've looked at the Carolina schedule, but you mentioned you have. Oh, you say you haven't looked at the
not really in depth. I've glanced at
fine.
it. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
That's fine. All right. So based off the teams you see in the NFC South, you got Buccaneers, the Saints, and Atlanta, and then of course us. Where do you predict us landing in the division, and what's the record prediction you see?
Okay, so I definitely predict 3rd or 4th. I expect the Buccaneers to be tough. Are they a Super Bowl contender? I don't know. We'll have to see when the season starts. New Orleans absolutely is going to be, a serious 12-4 kind of team. But I would still put Tampa, just based off of their roster, ahead of y'all going into the season. Atlanta, you never know. I mean, Atlanta could be a really good team, but then you've seen years where they've kind of struggled and come out flat. I would say 3rd or 4th, and I would say between 7-9 and 8-8.
I'll take 7-9 and 8-8, and I think to be also 7-9 and 8-8 can definitely be 3rd. And the thing is that I have a struggle with is after how I saw Atlanta last year, and they lose Hooper, and they get my boy Hurst back, my boy Hurst to go in there, but they still got Calvin Ridley, and then they add on Todd Gurley, and then they've got all these guys on the offense that are offensive weapons, and you got Jones. So it's like you got Matty Ice. The problem is Daniel Quinn that good of a coach? Is he that good of a coach? Can he because ever since they've lost to New England when they were up 28-7, it's just been a downhill spiral for them.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think he's an elite coach by any means. And he's kind of a guy that's kind of middle of the road, in my opinion. So he's kind of hard to rate as far as that goes.
And another thing is Todd Gurley going to be fully healthy? Is he going to come back to his old ways? That's another thing that I have to think about, because if not, I don't think Atlanta is going to be that good this year. And I personally, I started to get away from Atlanta for a little bit, but I think the
Mm.
Buccaneers are a little overrated because they haven't done anything with their offensive line, and their offensive line is not that good. If you look up their stats last year statistically, and how bad that you watch highlights and film of them, like Jameis Winston was running for his life.
Yeah, and that's why I wonder, and hopefully he doesn't, but if Breeze were to go down this season, would Jameis have some success with those weapons that he has in
And
New
his
Orleans?
new eyes.
Yeah. So,
I mean, if you could throw 500 yards and with some bad eyes and then complete as many touchdowns, but I know he threw as much interceptions, but maybe with some better eyes, he might be coming in there looking like a stud.
Hey, you never know. And it's interesting to me, man, with Todd Gurley coming back to Georgia, into Atlanta, it kind of makes sense for the Falcons. I think it's a fairly low risk, could be high reward move for them.
Yep.
But you're right. I mean, he might not be much more of a replacement over like a Tevin Coleman or who's the guy, Freeman.
I kind of compare the situation with Todd Gurley going to Atlanta, not just because Todd Gurley's from there. I'm saying, but like the reason why I compare it this way, like Cam Newton, like it's a high risk, high reward. Same thing. Like the Patriots got him for, a steal, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and in my opinion, the Pats just had to sign somebody. They couldn't go into the season with Jared Stidham starting. I mean, it just didn't give them a chance to compete.
So I think like what way I feel about the whole ordeal is like I can see us being third and fourth for sure, just because we got a new coaching staff, new coaches. But I feel like also I could see us being second or third. Third might be like for sure, because the third's all, like I said, third and fourth, and then like I could also see second or third. So like third, I think is for sure, but I could also see us going into second, because what if that offensive line at Tampa Bay, because it's a questionable offensive line, and I think a lot of people aren't questioning that, and Tom Brady can't move.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true. Well, what about the Panthers offensive line though? It's not great.
It's not great, but
I think
we have
Trey Turner. Yeah, you have. But so you brought in Russell Okung, but it took Trey Turner to get him, and I think Trey Turner last year was probably your best offensive lineman.
Yeah, I think, but Russell Okung can definitely, if he just, the thing is he's injured, actually. Not bad. It's nothing. It's just
everybody's injured, man.
It's just a day-to-day thing, one of those day-to-day things right now. It's nothing crazy, luckily. But the thing is like Matt Paradis, our center's got to step up. If he can step up, then Russell Okung, I think that our offensive line will be okay, because then everybody else around them will come together. And I did a video on that too. I kind of briefly talked about that, because I was talking about guys that need to step up, and it's definitely Matt Paradis, our center, definitely needs to. So yeah, our offensive line is questionable, but it can't be that questionable for Christian McCaffrey to have 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving. So
that's a good point.
And I think that, now adding these weapons, Teddy Bridgewater, the thing is like everything is there. It's just all got to come together for us to even make second. I don't see us making first. I'm sorry. Saints are just –
I don't
either. There's no comparison right now, like with the Saints. But, like, I question Atlanta because of Daniel Quinn and his coaching, and Todd Gurley if he's fully healthy. And then I question the Buccaneers because – Buccaneers still have actually a decent defense, but their offense is obviously going to be the thing to look out for, obviously. But the questionable thing is how good is that offensive line going to hold up for Tom Brady to be able to pass that ball?
Yeah, because for the first time in a while, man, he's got some weapons, boy. He's got Godwin, he's got Mike Evans, he's got Gronk.
If the Buccaneers can put it all together and that offensive line can give Brady just 5 seconds in that pocket, the Buccaneers, they might win the NFC South.
Yeah, because like you said, Jameis did throw for a lot of yards in Tampa and a lot of touchdowns last year, even though he had a lot of picks.
Yeah, he threw a lot of picks, but his eyes were all messed up.
and they were, and I would also say that Jameis is just as much, maybe not quite, but pretty much as much of a statue in the pocket as Tom Brady is.
I would say arm-wise, yes, for sure. I mean, I think Jameis Winston's got probably one of the strongest arms. I mean, I'll
He
never
does.
forget.
I'd say he has a stronger arm, but my point is he's not super mobile. He kind of stands in the pocket and doesn't move around much.
So I mean, I'll take third or fourth. I mean, you said third or fourth. I'm hoping more for the third instead of the fourth, and I'll definitely take 7 and 9 or 8 and 8. I kind of feel like you're giving us a little bit more credit than maybe we might deserve right now. But you never know with the 2020 season. That this like I said in your video, man, this NFL season is just so wide open with these teams because there's just so much talent, so much offseason moves, so much draft picks this year. I mean, the draft class this year, I think, was awesome, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And then, of course, with the running backs and the wide receivers in this draft class were awesome. So it's just going to be a fun, interesting 2020 season.
Yeah, it really is. Especially with it playing in front of no fans, it's going to be different. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see how the players react to playing in front of no fans. I think some guys kind of live for, playing in a big crowded stadium, and I think other guys kind of fold under pressure. So those guys might step up to the plate a little more this year.
Well, and it's just like I was thinking to myself too, like watching baseball this year. It's like, when the fans are in the stands, those people are hassling those batters when they go up to bat, and they're hassling the pitchers, those people that are in the stands. So it's like I'm wondering, and that now like these rookies and these young guys talents like Tito's, for example, is doing so well. So like what if these rookies come in here and they just do great? Like what if Tyrod Taylor goes down and Herbert comes in and just balls out, but with no fans because there's nobody heckling him there?
Yeah, I kind of think the practice squad stars might be able to stand out during the regular season more this year than normal.
Yeah, I mean, one more question before we finish up here. We'll wrap it up after this question. The Kansas City Chiefs announced, and I don't know how long ago they announced it, saying that they are putting a petition out to at least get 22% of their fans. Do you think that Carolina and even Dallas possibly could have fans in their stadiums and even maybe even possibly tailgates?
Okay, so first I'll talk about fans in the stadiums. Carolina, I know North Carolina has been really strict on as far as reopenings go. There's a lot in North Carolina that's still not reopened, like gyms and stuff that are reopened in South Carolina. So I would say a place like Charlotte is going to have a hard time getting fans in stadium. On the other side of that, you have Dallas, which Frisco, where our practice facility is. They have a Major League Soccer team, FC Dallas, who just played the first game in the United States since COVID started in front of fans, in front of 5,000 fans. Jerry thinks that they could do 50% capacity, and I think if they do it right, they definitely could. Now, in my opinion, Clay, if one team, if 10 teams can't do it and 10 teams can, obviously there's more than 10 teams, but it's just an analogy, then I don't think you should do it, period. Because I think it gives an inherent advantage to the teams that can. But the way the finances work in the NFL, ticket sales for one stadium, that's split across the league. So that might be a good thing if certain stadiums can open.
How do you feel about tailgates then?
I kind of think you're not going to be able to stop people from tailgating. Right.
Because it's outside, right? Well, then that's another thing. That's why I question like some of these, like maybe like the Saints, because they're in a dome. It's an indoor facility technically, right?
And states that allow it, there's definitely certain places that could have fans in the stadium as long as they go with CDC protocol. I'm all for it.
All right. Well, Ryan, I want to thank you again for coming on. This was an awesome video. We actually got more in than I thought we were actually going to, we talked a little bit more than we were actually going to talk about what we talked that we were going to talk about. So I was glad that we could get that in, and I probably threw you for a screwball there with those last couple questions, but but I'm glad that we got to talk about it because I was kind of trying to hear some more opinions on that. So, Ryan, I appreciate you coming on. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, to Pantherology, please subscribe to Pantherology. It's Pantherology. Ogy. Sorry, I almost forgot to even spell my own channel. And then, guys, also Ryan's channel, Fratagonia. I'll definitely put his link in the bio on this video once I get it out there, and go check him out. He's Dallas Cowboys fan, Texas Rangers fan, San Antonio Spurs fan, Dallas Stars fan, anything that basically has to do with Texas. Everything's bigger.
Oh yeah.
So, go check him out, guys. Ryan, thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it. This was some feedback that I needed to hear from somebody else.
Absolutely. Thanks again for having me, Clay. I appreciate it. Hopefully I'll be on again soon, and we'll have to do another video with you on my channel.
Yeah, for sure. I look forward to that. And guys, as always, keep pounding.